Well, Jesus was looking for me, and finally found me.
He does not shout. He does not explain. Dylan just listens, then decides. And once he decides, the choice lingers.
And then Albert will come up and go, boo. Right.
For more than 60 years, Bob Dylan has been the compass of modern song, breaking form, reshaping words, and guiding generations. Yet beneath the fame, the awards, the mystery, lies something simpler, an ear sharpened by trust. He trusts the song that lasts, the band that matters, the one performance that carries a whole world inside it. He does not move with trends. He moves with echoes. Highway 61, Blonde on Blonde, Blood on the Tracks, Time Out of Mind. His work holds the weight of history, but at the center of it all are the sounds that fed him, inspired him, and stayed with him. Dylan does not just admire bands. He absorbs them. He carries their weight forward.
On a midnight watch, I realized why twice you ran away.
I'm gonna mess with you.
And when he names them now, at 84, with more than half a century behind him, it is not a list. It is a testament.
I haven't written those songs just yet.
He has heard thousands, but only a few bands became part of him, shaping the sound he gave to the world, and in return, giving him something eternal. Here are the 5 bands Dylan holds highest, above fashion, above time, and no one else has replaced them. Number 1, the Memphis Jug Band. Some musicians find songs. Dylan found a compass. The Memphis Jug Band was not just another group from the 1920s, they were the living heart of Beale Street. Led by Will Shade, their rotating lineup turned everyday objects into instruments and street corners into concert halls. For Dylan, they were not distant history. They were the roots of everything that mattered. Dylan once said, 5 bands I wished I had been in. The Memphis Jug Band. That was not a throwaway line. It was Dylan pointing straight back to the wellspring. Songs like Stealin' Stealin', Casey Moan, and Cocaine Habit Blues still roll with sly humor and tough truth. They carry grit and grace at once. On those old Victor recordings, the band was more than the sum of its parts. Jug, washboard, guitar, harmonica, fiddle, voices. They stitched American music together with rhythm and wit. Dylan hears them and hears possibility.
Writing symphony with different melodies and different words.
Will Shade was not chasing stardom, he was building a community. His band welcomed talents like Hattie Hart and Charlie Burse, letting the music breathe and change with each session. That openness is what Dylan responds to. Music as fellowship, not product. A historian once wrote, "The Memphis Jug Band were the definitive jug outfit of the 1920s and early 1930s. Listen closer, and you hear invention in every bar. The kazoo buzzing like laughter, the jug booming like a hidden bass. These were not gimmicks. They were the DNA of folk and blues to come." Dylan's entire career turning the old into something new echoes that approach. Another writer noted, "They were among the first to make the kazoo part of the jug band mix." That is why Dylan keeps them close. They remind him of what lasts: honesty, simplicity, a song that travels light but carries weight. Their music is not preserved in glass. It is still alive, still echoing through every folk club and street corner. And for Dylan, it is proof that the spark of creation can come from anywhere. From a jug, from a laugh, from a voice raised in the night. Other bands might chase polish. The Memphis Jug Band brought truth. And Dylan, he gives them gratitude. Because long before he carved his own path, they paved one he could follow. Number 2, Muddy Waters Chicago Band. Some artists change a song. Muddy Waters Chicago Band changed the temperature of the room. When Dylan points to this unit, he is not saluting one star. He is saluting a sound. Chess Records, South Michigan Avenue, Muddy on electric guitar and voice, Little Walter on harmonica, Otis Spann on piano, Jimmy Rogers on second guitar, Willie Dixon on bass, Fred Below on drums. Together, they did not just play the blues, they electrified it, focused it, and sent it roaring down Main Street. Muddy once declared, "I'm your hoochie coochie man." That line was not bravado, it was a mission statement. The band's records were built like steel, a prowling groove, a riff that does not quit, and a vocal that knew exactly where the truth lived. From Hoochie Coochie Man to Manish Boy to Got My Mojo Working, they turned stories into struts. Dylan hears that precision and swagger and smiles. This is the engine that made going electric make sense.
They've done it a lot of other places. I mean, they must be pretty rich to be able to go someplace and boo.
Listen to the interplay. Little Walter's harmonica does not decorate. It argues, replies, and leads. Otis Spann answers on piano with Church and Street in the same hand. Rogers keeps the guitar parts tight and conversational. Dixon's bass and Below's drums lock like a gate. The result is momentum, music that walks straight through the door and sits at the table. Muddy fires another signal flare. I'm a man. That confidence shaped everyone who came after. The Rolling Stones took their very name from Muddy's Rollin' Stone. British bands learned the vocabulary from these sides and sent it back across the ocean louder. In 1976, Muddy stood on stage at the Last Waltz the same night Dylan appeared, two currents of American music crossing in plain sight. You can hear the Chicago charge in Dylan's mid-60s records, a tougher rhythm, a sharper edge, words riding a backbeat that refuses to step aside. One more mantra from the set list, Got My Mojo Working. Because this band was not theory, it was feel. Tight, unshowy, relentless. The groove breathes, the solos talk, and the stories carry weight you can dance to. That is why Dylan keeps this band near the top. They took the blues off the porch, put it under bright lights, and made it stride. Not just influence, foundation. Number 3, Crosby, Stills, and Nash. There are harmonies, and then there is Crosby, Stills, and Nash. For Dylan, they were not just another group. They were proof that voices, when perfectly matched, could feel like one heartbeat. David Crosby of the Byrds, Stephen Stills of Buffalo Springfield, and Graham Nash of the Hollies came from different bands and different traditions. But when they stood together, they built a sound both intimate and monumental. Dylan once said, 5 bands I wished I had been in, Crosby, Stills, and Nash. That was not passing praise. It was respect. Their self-titled debut in 1969 delivered sweet Judy Blue Eyes, Helplessly Hoping, and Long Time Gone, a run of songs that set a new bar for vocal blend and songwriting craft. A few months later, at Woodstock in August 1969, they appeared as Crosby, Stills, and Nash and let those harmonies cut through the night with startling clarity. Dylan admired that kind of precision, the ability to take thousands of listeners and bring them to stillness.
Well, no comments, no arguments, I certainly don't feel guilty.
The partnership began by chance, Stills and Crosby singing together at a house in Laurel Canyon, Nash adding a third line, and the room stopping cold. From that moment, they were more than individuals. They were a single instrument. Rehearsal after rehearsal, they built arrangements that honored the lyric first, then let the chords bloom around it. Crosby once wrote, "If you smile at me, I will understand." That lyric from Wooden Ships defined their approach, connection before spectacle. Their voices did not compete. They circled one another, each line carrying the others forward. Stills brought structure and drive. Crosby favored bold, open chords, and Nash added clarity and lift. Together, they could make a whisper feel like an anthem. Stills once admitted on stage, "It's getting to the point where I'm no fun anymore." That confession in Sweet, Judy Blue Eyes lands harder because of the harmony behind it. The blend turns doubt into strength and intimacy into memory. Dylan values that restraint, the power to let the song breathe without forcing it. And then there is Helplessly Hoping, a quiet reminder that 3 voices can tell one story. 3 singers, 1 soul. For Dylan, Crosby, Stills, and Nash proved that harmony is not decoration. It is the core. It is the reason the song lasts. Number 4, the Clancy Brothers and Tommy Makem. When Dylan first heard the Clancy Brothers and Tommy Makem in Greenwich Village, he did not hear antiques. He heard living headlines, old stories made urgent by 4 fearless voices. Patty, Tom, and Liam Clancy, with Tommy Makem, brought traditional Irish ballads into New York clubs and then onto national television, breaking through with a 1961 appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show. Their records for Columbia carried the same spark, close harmonies, a driving pulse, and arrangements that honored the lyric first. Dylan later singled out Liam as his favorite ballad singer, proof that this influence ran deep and stayed close. Liam Clancy was the best ballad singer I'd ever heard. They did not rely on volume. They relied on breath, timing, and trust. Mockham's baritone grounded the blend. Liam's phrasing gave each line shape. Paddy and Tom pushed the choruses forward. Tin whistle, banjo, and a firm hand drum lifted the room without drowning the words. The group showed Dylan how restraint can travel farther than thunder.
Liam was profound. He would, besides all of his rebel songs and his acting career, he would have these incredible sayings like...
Their songbook carried humor and heartbreak in equal measure. Drinking tunes, love laments, rebel anthems, each performed with clear diction and a storyteller's patience. Dylan watched audiences lean in, then sing back. That call and response spirit, intimate, communal, fed his own approach to performance. Good night and joy be to you all. When they closed with the parting glass, the room shifted into a gentle hush. The line felt like both blessing and warning, the way folk songs often do, and the lineage was direct. Dylan's With God on Our Side drew on the melody of Dominic Behan's The Patriot Game, a song the Clancys had already carried to wide audiences. It was not imitation, it was the folk process at work, shared tunes, new arguments. Beyond repertoire, they modeled professionalism, rehearsed entrances, clean arrangements, stories introduced with context rather than chatter. Dylan learned that the most powerful stagecraft is respect for the song. At the rising of the moon, an uprising distilled to 6 words, history singing in the present tense. That is the lesson Dylan kept. Tradition is not a museum, it is fuel. For him, the Clancy brothers and Tommy Makem were not just influences. They were a map through story, melody, and memory. Proof that 4 voices aligned with purpose can make yesterday feel like news from tonight. Number 5, Buddy Holly. When Dylan talks about the spark that set him in motion, he returns to one night, the Winter Dance Party tour at the Duluth Armory in January 1959. He was 17 in the crowd. Buddy Holly walked on stage with his Stratocaster, thick-rimmed glasses, and a presence that felt both ordinary and electrifying. Dylan never forgot it. Years later, at the 1998 Grammy Awards, Dylan remembered the moment in a single line. "I saw Buddy Holly play. He looked at me." That glance carried the weight of permission. Holly was not just singing hits, he was writing them, arranging them, and leading his own band. In Clovis, New Mexico, at Norman Petty's studio, he overdubbed guitars, stacked harmonies, and turned rock and roll into something sharp and intimate. Dylan absorbed the lesson. A performer could be his own author. The songs themselves were simple but unforgettable. That'll Be the Day turned a casual phrase into an anthem. Peggy Sue spun nothing more than a name into melody. Rave On captured joy in 2 words and a galloping beat. Holly made music sound conversational, like a friend sharing secrets over rhythm. That'll Be the Day. For Dylan, it was not about imitation. It was about independence. Holly showed that you did not have to wait for permission from the industry. You could write, sing, and command the room yourself. That idea runs straight through Dylan's own career. From the early folk records to the electric upheaval of 1965, each song built on drive, clarity, and authorship. Holly's stagecraft mattered too. He did not strut. He smiled, leaned into the mic, and trusted the song to carry the weight. Dylan adopted that kind of ease, the sense that the music was already in motion, and the singer was simply stepping inside its current. Oh, Peggy Sue! Holly's career lasted less than 2 years at the top, cut short in 1959, but his influence ran further than decades. For Dylan, that Duluth night was a compass point, proof that directness can be revolutionary. Buddy Holly did not shout. He set the tempo, trusted the tune, and let it live. Dylan recognized a craftsman whose clarity made the hall feel like a conversation, and whose music made the future possible. Dylan never shouted his choices. He did not crown them with fanfare. He just named the bands and let the silence after speak louder than applause. Others made lists for attention. Dylan made his list like a confession. These were not just favorites. They were guides, maps that carried him from coffee houses to concert halls, from a kid in Duluth to a Nobel stage. And once those names were spoken, they did not fade. They stayed etched in the mythology of music, because if Dylan said it, the world leaned in. So who else do you think belongs beside Dylan's 5? Whose songs live in the same air he breathed? Drop your take in the comments. And if you want early access to the next round of music's untold stories, like, subscribe, and join for member-only dives into the legends behind the legends. Because in Dylan's world, influence was not a borrowed word. It was inheritance, and at 84, he is still passing it on.